Hey guys, welcome to the Joe Somebody Show, and in this episode I'm going to talk about some common things that people have asked me about cruises. So we're going to take a look at all of that coming right up. If you don't already know me, that's quite alright. My name is Joe. I like to go on cruises, and I'm just a regular person. I'm not any kind of travel expert or anything, and I'm not paid by a cruise line, you know, to put out videos. I'm just a regular guy that likes to have vacation time with his family and to also share information with you at home. I've been on several cruises at this point in my life, and I've already booked one for April of this year, so I do have a little bit of experience, and the videos that I've made, some people have dropped by in the comments section and asked me, you know, a couple questions. They've hit me up on Facebook and my Twitter, and they've asked me kind of the same questions over and over again. So I want to address those common questions that people may have about cruises right here in one video. One of the most common questions that I've been asked so far is, do you need a passport to go on a cruise? There is no straightforward answer to this question. For the most part, no, it is not necessary to have a passport to go on a cruise. I've been on several, I've never had a passport. That being said, it is highly recommended by a lot of major cruise lines that you do get your passport in case you miss the ship or something like that. You need an emergency flight somewhere, you know, you don't want to end up stranded in another country. But the legal answer is, as long as you're leaving from and coming back to a US port, no, you don't need any kind of passport. A lot of people have asked me how, you know, what kind of schedule does the ship keep, and how do you know when the ship goes where? On all the cruises we've been on, they've given us a very clear itinerary telling us specifically what time the ship's going to dock and what time the ship is going to leave. The ship normally is going to stay on the same time zone from the port that it left from. For example, Port Canaveral, Florida is in the Eastern Standard Time Zone, so no matter where you go, you're still going to stay on Eastern Standard Time because that's the ship's home port, and it's going to stay on that time. So be aware that the ship time and the actual time can be different, and you're always going to go by the ship time. It's a pretty good practice to make sure that you're back on board at least an hour before the ship is supposed to depart. That way, if you are running late, you give yourself a little bit of leeway, because the ship usually is not going to wait. They don't verify that everybody's on board. If you're not on board when it's time for the ship to leave, they're going to leave you. And at that point, you'd probably need a passport to book a flight out of that country, and you know, if you didn't have your passport, it'd be the whole painstaking going to the US Embassy thing, and so it's really up to you whether you have a passport, but make sure you pay attention to the ship's time. Another common question that I've had is, where do you store passports and other important documents while you're visiting a port of call? Unfortunately, I can't speak for all of the cruise lines. I've only cruised with the Carnival line, so I don't know about Royal Caribbean, Princess, and all the others, but at least on the Carnival ships, in each stateroom you actually have a safe that you program with a card, like a credit card, debit card. You can even use your sail and sign card to lock it, and only that card can open the safe. So it's good practice to take all of your important documents, your passports, anything that you think you're not going to need, and store them there. However, again, if you have a passport and you're getting off the ship in a foreign country, you may want to take it with you so that if you miss the ship, you won't have that problem. But any other important documents and valuables can be stored in your in-cabin safe. Number 4 on my list is, do you need money on board the ship? A lot of these questions don't have a straightforward answer. The short answer is no, you don't need cash on the ship, because you're gonna most of the time create a sail and sign account. Definitely with Carnival, again, I can't speak for the other cruise lines. You're gonna link the account either to a credit card or to a bank account, or go ahead and pay ahead in cash and have money on the room on your tab. So you don't need cash. Everything that you go to do, you're gonna use your card, and I think I have one here with me. You're going to use your little card that they give you, and this, you know, opens the door to get into your room. This can be programmed to lock your safe, and anything that you're going to buy, you can use this same as like a debit card or credit card while on board, and it charges it to your room and or your linked account that's linked to your room. So on board the ship, you don't really need any actual cash. However, in the ports of call, there are gift shops and duty-free stores that you might want to go visit and, you know, buy a t-shirt to take home to your mom, to your kids, to whoever you may want to go out and spend some money on these islands. And of course, they're not going to take your onboard sail and sign Carnival ship card, so you're going to need some cash off the ship. Number 5 on this list of questions is probably one of the hardest to answer, and personally one of the questions I view the dumbest, but are cruises safe? I mean, come on people. No, cruises aren't necessarily safe. You have to think about what you're doing. You're pretty much living on a ship in the ocean for 3, 5, 6, 7, 10, or 14 days, depending on how long your voyage is. So it's not super safe. There's a lot that can go wrong on board a vessel. So it's not the safest mode of transportation, but things go wrong in cars, things go wrong in airplanes, things go wrong in trains. So yes, naturally, things can go wrong on a cruise ship. The engine can catch on fire, like the Carnival Triumph that recently, its engine caught on fire. Nobody was injured, but you know, it left the ship stranded and everybody had to be towed by a tugboat, basically back to a port. And so, I mean, in terms of safety, I feel like the passengers for the most part are safe. There are, you know, plenty of lifeboats on board. This isn't Titanic or anything that we're talking about. Modern times have modern safety procedures. But things do happen, accidents do happen in any mode of transportation, any type of travel. You know, things can happen. So as far as I'm concerned, I feel just as safe on a ship as I do in a car. I'm aware that things can happen, but I haven't had any issues myself while on a cruise. The 6th thing on the list is what type of toiletries will we need to take with us on our cruise? Any type of toiletries you want on the cruise. I mean, they give you body wash and shampoo and a complimentary razor, and there's a hair dryer in all the staterooms. But you know, anything else like deodorant or face cream or face cleanser, you know, things like that. Anything that you normally need that's outside of the very basic necessities, make sure that you take it. You don't need to go overboard, no pun intended, with your toiletries, but make sure that you have your Q-tips, you know, things that you're gonna need. Maybe Band-Aids even if you cut yourself while shaving. Ships do rock a little bit. So you need to carry some stuff with you, but you know, you don't necessarily have to worry about soap, shampoo, that type of stuff, because it is provided on board. No joke, people ask me a lot if they're gonna get seasick while on the ship. I'm not a doctor. I'd make more money if I was. But again, everybody is different, so the ship may or may not affect you. I personally don't really get affected by the ship. I look at it like it's a mall or a very small city. You know, you feel it rock every now and then when the weather is rough or the sea's rough. That's to be expected. It's a ship. But no, most people don't get seasick. Even my sister, who gets very, very car sick, is not affected by being on a cruise ship. But for people that are worried about it, there are, you know, motion sickness tablets you can take. The little bracelets that put pressure on your wrists, I've heard, are pretty good. There's even these little dots that look kind of like Band-Aids you stick behind your ear that can help you with motion sickness and stuff like that, that a lot of people swear by, but I've never needed them. My wife did not get seasick even though she was pregnant on her first cruise. So I'm gonna say, as a general answer, people don't get seasick on a ship that large. Now sometimes when the big boats dock, they can't pull all the way into the port, so they actually drop anchor a little out into the ocean, and a bunch of smaller boats called tender boats will come out to the ship to get the passengers and bring them to the island. And sometimes the tender boat ride can be a little bit rough, especially again if it's windy, the weather's a little bit rough. Those boats you might get seasick on. You know, some of the excursions are out on some boats you might get seasick on, but I wouldn't worry so much about the ship. Speaking of pregnant, number 8 on the list is, can I still go on a cruise if I'm pregnant? There are stipulations about traveling, and I think you're good up until your 3rd trimester. As long as you're, you know, sometime within that range before your 3rd trimester, I believe that you can go on a cruise and shouldn't have any complications. Again, my wife was pregnant, but you can do that. It's best to check with the cruise line first to make sure that you fall within their guidelines. The 9th question on my list has to do with the things that are necessary in order to book a cruise. Again, that is different with each cruise line, but it's been my general experience that you must be either married and over the age of 21 or over the age of 25 in order to book a cruise. For example, if a 22-year-old and his 19-year-old girlfriend want to go on a cruise, they can't book, actually. Since the primary party booking the cruise is not over the age of 25, it requires that the couple be married. So it is a little bit complicated. Check ahead of time just to make sure, but it's different for every cruise line, I think. But I know with Carnival you had to be either 25 or 21 and married. So it's kind of strange, and again, I'm not positive about that, but check ahead of time. Going on a cruise does require some documentation. If you are married, I think you may have to present a marriage certificate. I know you do if your last names are different. You have to present the marriage certificate. Each person needs either a passport or a certified copy of their birth certificate, you know, things like that. So check with the cruise line for the specific documentation they need and be aware of that in enough time to get it, because I have seen some people that have booked their cruise but they couldn't get their paperwork together and they were not able to go, because you have to have the adequate documentation, you know, proving your identity before they'll let you even board the ship. The cruise lines can tell you what documentation you need, but actually this is a homeland security thing, because you're leaving the US and planning to return to the US, so they want to verify everybody's identity to make sure that, you know, everybody's legal. Number 10 on my list is a common misconception, but what is the minimum drinking age on a cruise ship? I'm very sorry to inform you, my friends, but the legal drinking age on a cruise ship is still 21. A lot of people think that it's going to be 18 because they're in international waters, and though legally I think that that is the case, the guidelines of the ship, you must be 21 and you must give them your key card, and they verify your age that way. If they go and run your card, it'll tell them if you're under 21 and you will not get your drink. So that is a guideline. I know on Carnival, I assume it's the same on most of the ships, where you have to be 21 to drink on board the ship. Now in Mexico and some other countries, I think the legal drinking age is 18. So, you know, you might be able to get off the ship and go get a drink somewhere, at one of the little tiki bars or whatever. That's fine, and you can come back on the ship drunk as you want to be. That's fine. You just cannot purchase alcohol on the ship under the age of 21. I have been asked a couple times about smoking. I'm not going to go into very much detail. That's a disgusting habit. I am judging you people that smoke. I did it and I quit, and you should quit. You're killing yourself. You're killing people around you. If you must smoke on board, I believe that it is acceptable. You can't smoke in your room. You cannot smoke, like if you're on a balcony you can smoke, but you have to put your cigarettes out in the little standing devices, you know, to put it out in. Don't flick them over into the ocean, because they blow back into the decks below you and cause the ship to catch on fire and ruin everybody's vacation. So if you have to smoke, I think that that is acceptable, but it's gross and you should quit. Alright, well that is the 11 most frequently asked things that I've personally received about going on a cruise. I hope it was helpful to you. I know it was kind of cut and dry and to the point, and there are a lot of things that you really need to check with the cruise line ahead of time. But you know, for the most part, these are general answers that cover the ships that I've been on, the cruise line that I've been with. This is how things applied, so this is not meant to be any kind of you know, advice or legal, this is what you're allowed to do because Joe somebody said so, but this is just meant to give you a little bit of information, maybe help you prepare for your cruise. So anyway, I'm going to put some links over here in this area to my last 2 cruises that we went on. I went last year on the Carnival Dream, had an excellent time, and then the year before we went on the Carnival Fascination on a 5-day cruise. It was not quite as nice, but it was still good enough. And so the links to those videos are going to be over here, so you can click on them and check them out. They're a little lengthy, that's fine. I'm sorry about that. I just wanted to include as much information as I could in there for you guys. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it helped you out, and stay safe on the cruise ships.